The deafening roar of jet engines rattled Lieutenant Kara Ace Lawson's cockpit as the F-16 shuddered violently, alarm lights flashing across the control panel, and she gritted her teeth, hands tightening on the stick, eyes scanning the rapidly changing instruments, because this was no routine sortie. Something had gone catastrophically wrong, systems failing one by one, and the enemy radar net had locked onto her position with alarming speed, sending digital warnings that screamed of imminent danger. Missiles and anti-aircraft artillery, and Kara, despite the pounding adrenaline, refused to panic because panic in the sky meant death, and she had no intention of becoming a statistic, not today, not ever. And as the aircraft pitched violently, alarms blaring, systems flickering between red and yellow, she assessed her options, calculating altitude, speed, trajectory, and potential landing zones in a heartbeat, her mind running at full capacity, muscles coiled, heart hammering. Because every second counted, every decision carried consequences, and as she fought to stabilize the jet, the comm crackled with frantic voices. Ace, status report. You're reading critical failure on hydraulics. And she snapped back, voice steady despite the chaos. Copy that. Systems failing. I'm assessing emergency landing options. I need clearance to divert. And while the tower scrambled, coordinates transmitted, and ground crews braced, Kara's eyes caught the first glint of enemy interceptors, F-16s from another squadron now vectoring toward her, aggressive, precise, and trained to eliminate any intruder. And for a fleeting moment, adrenaline spiked even higher, because the sky had just become a chessboard, and she was the queen being hunted. Yet Kara's instincts, honed from countless hours in simulators, combat training, and high-stakes missions, kicked in, calculating angles, speeds, and potential evasive maneuvers in milliseconds. And as the enemy jets closed in, she initiated a series of rapid, unpredictable maneuvers, banking, rolling, diving, each movement designed to shake their lock-ons, each flick of the joystick a calculated gamble, muscles taut, reflexes razor-sharp, heart pounding, mind clear. And yet the hydraulics screamed in protest, systems flickered, and it became painfully obvious. She was being forced to land, and the enemy was watching every move, eyes locked, digital tracking systems glowing like predatory eyes, waiting for a mistake. And Kara, knowing the stakes, did not hesitate, because hesitation was fatal. And as she guided the crippled jet toward the nearest friendly airstrip, calculations running at light speed in her mind, she realized that what was about to unfold would shock everyone, including her own wingmen and the enemy pilots, because her reputation, skill, and sheer audacity were about to become undeniable. And as the landing gear slammed down, hydraulics groaning, tires smoking, she executed a near-impossible flare maneuver to stabilize the aircraft, skidding down the tarmac, missiles and jets from enemy squadrons frozen in their approach, literally halting in mid-vector as recognition hit. Lieutenant Kara Lawson, the pilot whose name alone struck fear and awe into every squadron she'd ever faced, was on the runway, alive, intact, and still in control. And for a split second, even the most seasoned pilots could do nothing but watch, jaws slack, brains recalculating everything they thought they knew about air combat and her abilities. And Kara, chest heaving, hands steady despite the chaos, eyes scanning the perimeter for threats, systems still warning of imminent failure, realized that the battle in the air had transformed into a high-stakes psychological standoff, because the enemy now knew that underestimation was impossible, and her own squadron, scrambling to assist and debrief her, could barely comprehend the audacity, skill, and precision it had taken to bring a failing F-16 down safely under enemy observation, all the while projecting calm, control, and an unspoken warning, "Do not try me." And as ground crews rushed toward the jet, securing the engines, assessing the damage, and preparing for immediate extraction of vital intelligence and tactical data, Kara's eyes, scanning the horizon for lingering threats, caught the flicker of motion in the enemy formation. Pilots frozen, jaws dropping, digital readouts blinking in disbelief, the entire squadron paralyzed for a heartbeat by the realization of who she was. And as she climbed out of the cockpit, gear still secure, adrenaline pumping, the roar of the jet engines fading, yet her presence commanding absolute respect and authority, whispers rippled across the airfield, and the enemy could only stare, locked in shock, because Kara Ace Lawson had turned what should have been a catastrophic failure into a masterclass in precision, bravery, and control. And in that moment, as she walked across the tarmac, systems still sparking, engines still whining, eyes fierce, jaw set, every pilot, every crew member, friend and foe alike, understood that this was a woman who refused to be cornered, underestimated, or defeated, and that the F-16s, both hers and theirs, would never look at the sky, the mission, or her in the same way again, leaving a whisper of suspense lingering in the air, a promise that even after this miraculous landing, Kara's story, her legend, and the next impossible mission were only beginning. No sooner had Kara Ace Lawson's boots hit the tarmac than the enemy scrambled, realizing that her miraculous landing had not only survived their intercept but also delivered her and critical intel intact. And as she scanned the perimeter, systems still warning of residual failures, a flurry of movement caught her sharp eyes. Enemy UAVs zipping across the horizon, reconnaissance drones tracking her every step, and a squadron of hostile jets adjusting vectors for another strike, intent on testing the limits of her skill and daring. Yet Kara, calm and calculated despite the pounding adrenaline, assessed the situation, muscles coiled, reflexes sharpened, heart racing, mind racing 100 calculations per second, every option weighed and discarded in favor of the fastest, most precise tactical response. And as she ducked behind the nearest hangar, issuing rapid commands through comms to her squadron, she coordinated defensive fire, arranged anti-air placements and guided ground crews to secure the remaining jets and critical systems, all while scanning the sky for hostile maneuvers, eyes catching subtle reflections off cockpit glass, every movement of enemy aircraft instantly analyzed, calculated and countered in her mind. And as the first missiles arced into the air, targeted at the airstrip, Kara pivoted, coordinating evasive maneuvers with her squadron overhead, calling precise angles, timing and vector changes, while simultaneously guiding her ground team to cover, evacuate personnel and neutralize any advancing threats, muscles taut, lungs straining, heart pounding, mind operating at peak clarity, because every second, every movement, every decision carried the weight of life and mission integrity. And as enemy jets closed in, attempting to force a second engagement, Kara calculated trajectories and engagement windows, issuing orders that seemed impossible yet executed flawlessly, instructing her squadron to split, feint and converge with timing so precise that even the most experienced enemy pilots found themselves off balance, confused and hesitant, whispers of awe spreading through both her team and the watching enemy. She's controlling the battlefield, every impossible maneuver anticipated, Ace is untouchable. Yet amidst the tactical ballet in the sky, Kara's mind tracked ground threats as well, hidden explosives, incoming vehicles, rogue operatives attempting sabotage, all converging on the airstrip, and she moved fluidly between tasks, firing precise shots where necessary, directing suppressive fire, stabilizing wounded personnel, and guiding every operator to safety, muscles burning, reflexes razor-sharp, mind at maximum capacity, because inaction or miscalculation would result in catastrophe. And when an enemy UAV attempted a low-level strike, Kara, without hesitation, pivoted, fired, and neutralized it in a single calculated shot, the recoil a mere whisper compared to the pounding of adrenaline, while her squadron adjusted, coordinated, and executed every maneuver under her precise guidance, awe evident in their eyes. She sees everything, every angle, every threat, accounted for. I've never seen anyone handle simultaneous air and ground threats like this. And as enemy jets attempted desperate flanking maneuvers, Kara anticipated their moves, issuing split-second orders to her pilots, coordinating ground-based countermeasures, and even predicting the timing of the next missile launch with uncanny accuracy, muscles coiled, lungs straining, heart hammering, mind razor-sharp, instincts flawless, while the enemy faltered, uncertainty creeping into their precision-trained reactions, whispers of disbelief among their ranks. She's everywhere at once, every impossible attack countered. We underestimated her at our peril, yet Kara remained focused, scanning, calculating, pivoting, ready for every eventuality, because the battlefield demanded constant vigilance. And when a small team of enemy operatives attempted a sneak attack on the airstrip's fuel storage, Kara moved instantly, coordinating defensive fire, neutralizing threats, stabilizing ground personnel, and orchestrating a near-perfect counter-assault, muscles taut, heart racing, mind operating at peak efficiency, eyes blazing with controlled focus, while her squadron overhead executed evasive patterns perfectly aligned with her commands, whispers of awe continuing to ripple. Ace is rewriting the rules of engagement. Every impossible scenario, handled flawlessly. We misjudged her completely, and as the dust, smoke and explosions intermingled, Kara's attention split between multiple simultaneous threats, her mind calculating every possible outcome, every trajectory, every tactical advantage, issuing commands that blended lethal precision with protection of her team, civilians and critical assets, while enemy operatives, now hesitant, attempted desperate measures, firing missiles, directing small arms, attempting diversionary tactics. Yet Kara anticipated every move, countered with perfect timing, and even Lieutenant Jackson allowed a rare, incredulous smile, muttering, "She's untouchable." Yet Kara's focus never wavered, because survival and mission success demanded flawless execution, and as the final waves of enemy jets retreated, miscalculations and hesitations leaving them vulnerable, Kara assessed damage, ensured wounded personnel were stabilized, and guided the remaining assets into a secure formation, muscles burning, lungs heaving, heart pounding, mind razor-sharp, instincts alive, because even apparent victory required continued vigilance, and as the airstrip settled into a tense lull, whispers of awe, disbelief, and respect ran through every observer. She carried us through impossible danger, every impossible scenario, handled flawlessly. Underestimating Kara Lawson is fatal, yet a subtle tension remained, a hint of unseen threats, hidden enemy operatives, unpredictable variables ensuring that the battle was far from over, and Kara, though exhausted, sweat-soaked and mud-streaked from near misses and adrenaline, maintained perfect composure, scanning the horizon, calculating contingencies, preparing for the next engagement, because even as the enemy retreated and her squadron stabilized, the battlefield's unpredictability guaranteed that her skills, instincts and courage would be tested again, leaving everyone, her squadron, ground teams and even enemy observers, with one undeniable truth: Kara Ace Lawson was not just a pilot, not just a fighter, she was an unstoppable force, a living variable on the battlefield whose precision, courage and instinct rewrote the rules of engagement, and even as the dust settled, smoke cleared, and engines roared in cautious readiness, Kara's mind was already calculating the next impossible mission, the next high-stakes challenge, the next split-second decision that could determine life or death, leaving the story suspended in tension, anticipation, and awe, because with Kara Lawson in the skies, nothing was predictable, everything was possible, and the enemy, and perhaps even her own allies, would never underestimate her again. Kara Ace Lawson had barely caught her breath after repelling the ambush on the airstrip when her cockpit alarms erupted in a cacophony of red and orange, warning lights flashing across every panel as the F-16's hydraulics began to fail, engines whining in protest, control surfaces responding sluggishly, and her heart leapt into her throat, not from panic but from the instant recognition that the situation had escalated beyond even the most dire training scenarios. Yet Kara, muscles coiled and mind razor-sharp, immediately ran through contingency protocols, scanning readouts, calculating alternative flight paths, altitude adjustments and emergency landing zones while simultaneously keeping a vigilant eye on the sky because, of course, the enemy would not wait politely for her to troubleshoot, and sure enough, a formation of enemy jets, having recovered from the earlier shock, now streaked toward her with lethal precision, missiles locked, tactical maneuvers coordinated, intent on exploiting any weakness, and Kara, despite the failing aircraft, pivoted into action, banking sharply, timing evasive rolls and dives with meticulous calculation, her instincts firing at a rate that seemed almost supernatural, all while coordinating with her squadron, who had been dispatched to cover her and establish a defensive perimeter around the crippled fighter, commands rapid and precise. Flank left, suppressive fire on high vector, maintain 300-meter altitude offset, cover my 6. Muscles taut, heart hammering, lungs straining, mind calculating dozens of variables simultaneously, and as she fought to stabilize the aircraft, a sudden jolt rocked the F-16 violently, systems sparking, throttle stuttering, and she realized that a critical hydraulic line had ruptured, forcing her to fly essentially by instinct and partial system support. And yet Kara's hands moved with the fluidity of someone born for this chaos, adjusting rudder, flaps, and thrust with minute precision, avoiding terrain, enemy fire, and potential catastrophic stalls, and while the SEALs on the ground and her squadron above coordinated defensive maneuvers, Kara's attention was drawn to an unexpected adversary, a rogue ace pilot, long thought to have been neutralized in prior engagements, now streaking directly toward her, missiles locked, a predatory grin visible even through the cockpit visor, and for a fleeting second, time seemed to distort, every scenario she had run through in training flashing through her mind, every possible evasive tactic, every maneuver she could execute with a crippled aircraft, and Kara, heart steady, mind razor-sharp, executed a series of high-speed rolls and sudden dives, baiting the adversary into overshooting while simultaneously countering the failing hydraulic control with minute corrections, engine whining, flames flickering from stress points, yet she refused to lose composure, knowing that hesitation would be fatal, and as the rogue pilot attempted a missile lock-on, Kara executed a near-impossible split-S maneuver, deploying countermeasures with surgical timing, flares arcing through the sky, radar jamming, chaff scattering, all while calculating wind speed, altitude, and trajectory, muscles burning, lungs straining, heart hammering, and the enemy Missile veered off course, the rogue pilot momentarily thrown off, but not for long, because now the engagement had become a deadly cat-and-mouse game, each movement a potential death sentence. Yet Kara's training, experience, and instinct allowed her to anticipate the adversary's next move, pivoting, rolling, diving, firing precisely timed electronic countermeasures, issuing commands to her squadron to adjust their positions, and even coordinating with ground-based defenses to create a crossfire that would trap the rogue ace in an impossible scenario. Whispers of awe rippling through her team. She sees everything, every impossible maneuver, executed flawlessly. I've never seen anyone handle a failing aircraft like this under fire. Yet the situation escalated further when secondary systems failed, cockpit lights flickering, radar malfunctioning, and Kara realized that the enemy ace was testing her limits, pushing her to the edge of human and machine capability. Yet she remained calm, calculating every move with precision, adjusting speed, angle, and trajectory to compensate for the failing hydraulics, keeping her eyes locked on the adversary, who now attempted a desperate head-on maneuver, missiles primed, while the battlefield below and the skies around her became a chaotic dance of fire, smoke, and metal. And Kara, muscles coiled, lungs heaving, heart pounding, executed a flawless high-G barrel roll, pulling the rogue pilot into a split-second miscalculation that caused him to overshoot, while she simultaneously guided her aircraft toward a safer altitude, calculating wind, thrust, and control surface limitations with millisecond precision, issuing orders to her squadron. Intercept vector delta, flank high, maintain optimal firing solution. Whispers of disbelief cutting through the comm chatter. She's untouchable. Every impossible scenario, countered. Ace is rewriting the rules of aerial engagement. Yet Kara's focus remained absolute, because even as she neutralized the immediate threat, the failing systems, rogue ace, and looming terrain hazards demanded continued vigilance. Muscles taut, reflexes razor-sharp, mind operating at peak clarity, and as she assessed the next steps, identifying an emergency landing zone on a reinforced carrier deck, she prepared for the most dangerous maneuver of her life, touching down a crippled F-16 under full enemy observation, while potentially still under attack. And with every second counting, Kara executed a perfect approach, calculating glide angle, thrust, wind shear, and deck alignment, countering erratic hydraulics, while simultaneously coordinating with her squadron and carrier deck crew, ensuring cover fire, suppression of enemy radar, and obstacle clearance. Her hands steady despite the stress, eyes blazing with focus, muscles burning, heart racing, mind a perfect combination of calculation, instinct, and courage. And as the landing gear slammed onto the deck, friction smoking, aircraft skidding, system screaming, she executed a final flare, stabilizing the jet, neutralizing immediate threats, securing her aircraft in record time, and stepping onto the carrier deck, adrenaline still coursing, eyes scanning for residual threats. She allowed a brief, victorious exhale, because even in this seemingly impossible scenario she had prevailed. Yet even as crew and squadron cheered, whispers of awe, disbelief, and respect ran through everyone present. She just landed a failing F-16 under fire. Every impossible maneuver, executed flawlessly. Ace Lawson is untouchable. Yet Kara's eyes, scanning the horizon, caught a flicker of movement, a subtle, almost imperceptible signal that danger, or perhaps a new, even more impossible mission, was already waiting, ensuring that the story, her legend, and the battlefield's challenge were far from over, leaving every observer, friend, and adversary with one undeniable truth. Underestimate Kara, Ace Lawson at your peril, because she was more than a pilot. She was a force of nature, a master of calculation, instinct, and courage. And even as the sun set over the carrier deck, the next impossible mission awaited, and Kara Lawson would meet it head-on. The carrier deck had barely stabilized after Kara Ace Lawson's impossible landing when radar blared with multiple contacts approaching at high speed, enemy jets converging in a coordinated strike pattern, missiles armed, UAVs swooping low to survey the deck, and ground-based saboteurs already moving to compromise critical equipment. And Kara, adrenaline still coursing, eyes scanning every readout, body coiled like a spring, knew that the battlefield had shifted again, and this time it was no longer just about her survival or piloting skill. It was about leading the entire air and ground team against a synchronized enemy assault, and with a single sharp inhale she pivoted into command mode, firing off precise orders through comms. Deck crews, secure all assets, move mobile units to reinforced zones, maintain blackout protocols. Air Squadron, vector high, flank delta, intercept inbound at 45-degree elevation, suppressive fire ready, muscles taut, heart hammering, lungs straining. Mind calculating trajectories, missile timing, enemy vector prediction, ground vulnerabilities, and as the first missiles arced into the sky toward the carrier, Kara executed rapid-fire countermeasures, flares, and electronic jamming sequences while simultaneously guiding deck personnel to duck, shield, and maneuver equipment out of line of fire, the chaos almost too much for any one human to manage. Yet Kara moved with fluid, surgical precision, eyes catching every glint of reflection, every flicker of enemy UAV, every flash of missile ignition, coordinating air intercepts with millisecond timing, calculating wind, thrust, angle of attack, all while keeping the crew calm through her authoritative, concise commands, and as the first wave of enemy jets initiated a low-level strafing run, firing rounds intended to disable aircraft, radar arrays and deck defenses, Kara executed a flawless counter-strategy, vectoring her squadron into overlapping cover fire zones, timing suppressive bursts to intercept inbound rounds and simultaneously directing ground crews to reinforce shields, maneuver fuel lines and secure weapons caches. Whispers of awe rippling through both her team and the observing enemy. She's everywhere at once. Ace Lawson controls the battlefield. Every impossible scenario anticipated and neutralized. Yet even as her squadron engaged the enemy, Kara noticed a subtle, almost imperceptible anomaly. A second wave of stealth drones approaching, programmed for precise strikes on critical systems, likely meant to cripple the carrier before she could react. And with a sharp pivot, she recalculated flight vectors, altitude adjustments and defensive fire sequences, issuing orders to squadron and deck alike with split-second timing, UAV intercept, deploy net measures, engage with laser targeting. All personnel maintain safe zones, track every reflection, muscles coiled, reflexes razor-sharp, heart hammering, lungs straining, mind running dozens of simultaneous calculations per millisecond. And as the stealth drones closed in, Kara executed a daring maneuver, a combination of electronic warfare, high-speed intercept, and precision firing, neutralizing multiple drones almost simultaneously, while issuing real-time commands to ground crews to stabilize affected systems and evacuate personnel from high-risk zones. The chaos of missiles, UAVs, and enemy jets interwoven with her flawless, razor-sharp command creating a ballet of destruction and survival. And as she watched, adrenaline blazing, the enemy attempted a desperate final maneuver. A low-altitude strike team deploying explosives directly on the deck, masked by the chaos of smoke, explosions, and electronic countermeasures, yet Kara, predicting the threat, pivoted instantly, coordinating intercepts with both air and ground forces, firing precise rounds to neutralize saboteurs, while deck crews moved in exact synchronization to secure equipment, shield vulnerable areas and contain any fire outbreaks, muscles burning, lungs straining, heart pounding, mind operating at perfect clarity, instincts razor-sharp, every movement executed with surgical precision, while her squadron executed her directives flawlessly, engaging enemy jets, intercepting missiles, and securing a defensive perimeter. Whispers of disbelief and awe cutting through the calm chatter. She's untouchable. Every impossible attack, countered. Ace Lawson is rewriting the rules of engagement. Yet even in this moment of high-octane chaos, Kara maintained perfect focus, scanning, calculating, predicting the enemy's next moves while simultaneously ensuring the safety of her crew, aircraft, and critical assets. And as the enemy jets attempted a final, coordinated retreat, a last desperate missile streaking toward the deck, Kara, without hesitation, executed a near-impossible split maneuver, deploying countermeasures and vectoring squadron fire to intercept, while deck crews synchronized their movements to reinforce vulnerable points and stabilize damaged equipment. Adrenaline still coursing, muscles taut, lungs straining, heart hammering, mind operating at absolute peak, instincts flawless. And as the missile exploded harmlessly offshore, the carrier deck, though battered, remained operational, personnel alive, assets intact, and Kara allowed a brief, victorious exhale, scanning the horizon for lingering threats, calculating contingencies, and issuing after-action commands with absolute precision. Whispers of awe, disbelief, and respect running through the team. She just carried us through a full-scale coordinated strike, every impossible maneuver executed flawlessly. Ace Lawson is untouchable, yet Kara, though sweat-soaked, muscles trembling, and heart still racing, maintained perfect composure, eyes blazing, mind alert, instincts alive, because she knew that the enemy's unpredictability, the battlefield's volatility, and the next mission were already approaching, that even in apparent victory the tension remained, a subtle warning that the story, the legend, and the challenge were far from over, leaving every observer, squadron member, and even enemy operative with one undeniable truth. Underestimate Kara Ace Lawson at your peril because she was more than a pilot, she was a master of calculation, instinct, courage and leadership, and even as the sun dipped below the horizon casting long shadows across the deck, she knew that her next impossible mission was already waiting just beyond perception, ensuring that the saga of Kara Lawson, pilot, strategist and unstoppable force, would continue with even greater danger, skill and awe-inspiring heroics. The dust and smoke of the earlier attack still hung in the air over the carrier deck when Kara Ace Lawson's radar pinged an anomaly, small, fast-moving signatures approaching at deck level, shadows slipping across the carrier's surface with deadly intent, and in an instant she recognized the threat. A highly trained boarding team, elite saboteurs, intent on compromising the carrier's vital systems, neutralizing aircraft, and potentially taking crew hostage. And without hesitation Kara's mind shifted into hyperfocus, calculating every variable. Entry points, squad positions, structural weaknesses, available personnel, weaponry and timing, all within fractions of a second, muscles coiled, heart pounding, lungs straining, eyes scanning every angle for movement, reflection or glint of metal, because she knew that in this environment, a single miscalculation could cost dozens of lives and critical strategic assets. Yet she refused to hesitate, immediately issuing precise, authoritative commands. Deck teams, secure hatches, cover all angles, establish choke points. Squadron on deck, intercept low-level boarding, suppressive fire ready, engage only with clearance. Everyone maintain communication, no one acts alone. And as the boarding team advanced, weapons drawn, explosives strapped, their coordination nearly flawless, Kara executed a rapid assessment, identifying the weak points in their formation, and calculated how to turn the boarding team's aggression against them, muscles burning, reflexes razor-sharp, heart hammering, mind operating at absolute peak clarity, while simultaneously coordinating deck crews to relocate vulnerable assets, secure flight systems, and prepare countermeasures, all while keeping a vigilant eye on the horizon for returning enemy jets or drones. Whispers of awe running through her team. She sees everything. Every impossible move anticipated. Ace Lawson is untouchable, yet the boarding team was clever, elite, and aggressive, slipping through initial defenses, and Kara pivoted instantly, firing precise rounds from her sidearm where necessary, while guiding deck crew to engage improvised barriers, suppressive fire, and tactical maneuvers, muscles taut, lungs straining, heart racing, mind calculating dozens of outcomes per second, every split-second decision critical. And as a saboteur attempted to plant explosives on the primary radar array, Kara, without hesitation, leapt, tackled, and neutralized the threat with a combination of martial skill, tactical acumen, and sheer audacity, while simultaneously issuing a rapid sequence of commands to squadron and deck personnel, orchestrating a perfect multi-layered counterattack that utilized the enemy's momentum against them. And as other saboteurs attempted to flank her position, Kara pivoted, rolling, firing, and coordinating deck teams to intercept, neutralizing multiple threats almost simultaneously, all while maintaining communication with air support above, calculating trajectories, timing intercepts, and ensuring that no friendly fire incidents occurred. Whispers of disbelief cutting through the chaos. She's controlling the battlefield like a conductor. Every impossible attack, countered flawlessly. Ace Lawson is rewriting the rules of engagement. Yet even as the last saboteur fell, Kara's eyes scanned the deck and the surrounding water, noticing subtle, almost imperceptible signs of additional threats, and she realized that the operation was far from over, that enemy operatives had left contingencies, hidden explosives, and traps that could trigger at any moment, and with a single sharp exhale, she recalculated defensive postures, issuing rapid commands to sweep the deck, secure all personnel, and neutralize potential hazards. Muscles taut, reflexes razor-sharp, heart hammering, lungs straining, mind operating at perfect efficiency, and as the final sweep cleared the carrier, Kara allowed herself a brief, victorious moment, knowing that the boarding attempt had been thwarted, lives saved, and assets preserved, yet the tension remained palpable, whispers of awe and disbelief echoing through the crew. She just neutralized a full-scale boarding under fire, every impossible scenario, executed flawlessly. Ace Lawson is untouchable. Yet Kara, sweat-soaked, muscles trembling, heart still racing, maintained perfect composure, eyes blazing, mind alert, instincts alive, because she knew that the battlefield's unpredictability, the enemy's cunning, and the next mission were already approaching, that even in apparent victory, the threat horizon was never truly clear, leaving every observer, team member, and even enemy operative with one undeniable truth: Underestimate Kara Ace Lawson at your peril because she was more than a pilot, more than a tactician. She was a master of split-second decision-making, instinct, courage, and leadership. And even as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the carrier deck, Kara's mind was already calculating the next challenge, the next impossible engagement, the next moment where lives, strategy, and victory hung in perfect balance, ensuring that her legend, story, and heroics would continue, awe-inspiring, lethal, and utterly unstoppable. The dust and smoke of the earlier attack still hung in the air over the carrier deck when Kara Ace Lawson's radar pinged an anomaly, small, fast-moving signatures approaching at deck level, shadows slipping across the carrier's surface with deadly intent, and in an instant she recognized the threat. A highly trained boarding team, elite saboteurs, intent on compromising the carrier's vital systems, neutralizing aircraft, and potentially taking crew hostage. And without hesitation Kara's mind shifted into hyperfocus, calculating every variable. Entry points, squad positions, structural weaknesses, available personnel, weaponry, and timing, all within fractions of a second, muscles coiled, heart pounding, lungs straining, eyes scanning every angle for movement, reflection, or glint of metal, because she knew that in this environment, a single miscalculation could cost dozens of lives and critical strategic assets. Yet she refused to hesitate, immediately issuing precise, authoritative commands. Deck teams, secure hatches, cover all angles, establish choke points. Squadron on deck, intercept low-level boarding, suppressive fire ready, engage only with clearance. Everyone maintain communication, no one acts alone. And as the boarding team advanced, weapons drawn, explosives strapped, their coordination nearly flawless, Kara executed a rapid assessment, identifying the weak points in their formation, and calculated how to turn the boarding team's aggression against them, muscles burning, reflexes razor-sharp, heart hammering, mind operating at absolute peak clarity, while simultaneously coordinating deck crews to relocate vulnerable assets, secure flight systems, and prepare countermeasures, all while keeping a vigilant eye on the horizon for returning enemy jets or drones. Whispers of awe running through her team. She sees everything. Every impossible move anticipated. Ace Lawson is untouchable, yet the boarding team was clever, elite, and aggressive, slipping through initial defenses, and Kara pivoted instantly, firing precise rounds from her sidearm where necessary, while guiding deck crew to engage improvised barriers, suppressive fire, and tactical maneuvers, muscles taut, lungs straining, heart racing, mind calculating dozens of outcomes per second, every split-second decision critical. And as a saboteur attempted to plant explosives on the primary radar array, Kara, without hesitation, leapt, tackled, and neutralized the threat with a combination of martial skill, tactical acumen, and sheer audacity, while simultaneously issuing a rapid sequence of commands to squadron and deck personnel, orchestrating a perfect multi-layered counterattack that utilized the enemy's momentum against them. And as other saboteurs attempted to flank her position, Kara pivoted, rolling, firing, and coordinating deck teams to intercept, neutralizing multiple threats almost simultaneously, all while maintaining communication with air support above, calculating trajectories, timing intercepts, and ensuring that no friendly fire incidents occurred. Whispers of disbelief cutting through the chaos. She's controlling the battlefield like a conductor. Every impossible attack, countered flawlessly. Ace Lawson is rewriting the rules of engagement. Yet even as the last saboteur fell, Kara's eyes scanned the deck and the surrounding water, noticing subtle, almost imperceptible signs of additional threats, and she realized that the operation was far from over, that enemy operatives had left contingencies, hidden explosives, and traps that could trigger at any moment, and with a single sharp exhale she recalculated defensive postures, issuing rapid commands to sweep the deck, secure all personnel, and neutralize potential hazards. Muscles taut, reflexes razor-sharp, heart hammering, lungs straining, mind operating at perfect efficiency, and as the final sweep cleared the carrier, Kara allowed herself a brief, victorious moment, knowing that the boarding attempt had been thwarted, lives saved, and assets preserved. Yet the tension remained palpable, whispers of awe and disbelief echoing through the crew. She just neutralized a full-scale boarding under fire. Every impossible scenario, executed flawlessly. Ace Lawson is untouchable. Yet Kara, sweat-soaked, muscles trembling, heart still racing, maintained perfect composure. Eyes blazing, mind alert, instincts alive, because she knew that the battlefield's unpredictability, the enemy's cunning, and the next mission were already approaching. That even in apparent victory, the threat horizon was never truly clear, leaving every observer, team member, and even enemy operative with one undeniable truth. Underestimate Kara Ace Lawson at your peril, because she was more than a pilot, more than a tactician. She was a master of split-second decision-making, instinct, courage, and leadership. And even as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the carrier deck, Kara's mind was already calculating the next challenge, the next impossible engagement, the next moment where Liv's strategy and victory hung in perfect balance, ensuring that her legend, story, and heroics would continue, awe-inspiring, lethal, and utterly unstoppable. The sun had barely broken over the horizon when Kara Ace Lawson's radar pinged the unmistakable signature of the enemy's master ace, a pilot whose reputation for precision, cunning, and lethal unpredictability rivaled even Kara's own, and as the jet approached, missiles primed, vector calculated with deadly accuracy, Kara felt the familiar rush of adrenaline, muscles coiled, heart hammering, lungs straining, mind running calculations at a rate that seemed almost superhuman, because this was no ordinary engagement. This was a battle of wits, instincts, and split-second decision-making at the highest stakes, and without hesitation, Kara issued commands to her squadron: maintain formation, vector high, intercept on my mark, suppressive fire. Ready, anticipate evasive maneuvers, while simultaneously scanning every instrument, gauging wind, altitude, engine integrity, and enemy approach angle, muscles taut, heart pounding, eyes blazing with focus. And as the enemy ace closed in, performing a near-impossible dive-and-roll maneuver, Kara executed a counter, banking sharply, pulling G-forces that would leave lesser pilots dazed, while simultaneously calculating trajectory offsets, timing for missile deployment and flaring patterns to confuse radar and targeting systems. Whispers of awe running through her squadron. She sees everything, every impossible scenario, anticipated. Ace Lawson is untouchable, yet the enemy ace was clever, executing unpredictable maneuvers, changing angles mid-dive, attempting to exploit even the smallest window of vulnerability, and Kara, undeterred, adjusted instantaneously, performing barrel rolls, split-S maneuvers, and high-speed dives with perfect timing, all while coordinating squadron fire, electronic countermeasures, and UAV support to create a deadly crossfire, muscles burning, lungs straining, mind operating at absolute peak, heart hammering, reflexes razor-sharp, every split-second decision precise, life or death. And as missiles streaked through the air toward her, Kara calculated exact evasive maneuvers, deploying flares and jamming signals, vectoring squadron cover to intercept remaining threats, whispers of disbelief cutting through the chaos. She's everywhere at once, every impossible attack, countered flawlessly. Ace Lawson is rewriting the rules of engagement, yet the master ace, recognizing Kara's unparalleled skill, escalated tactics. Attempting a high-risk head-on engagement, missiles locked, trajectory calculated to exploit even minimal deviation in her flight path, but Kara, muscles coiled, heart hammering, mind razor-sharp, anticipated the move, executing a daring high-G pull-up combined with a lateral roll, countering the head-on strike. While simultaneously positioning herself behind the enemy, eyes blazing, lungs straining, reflexes perfect, squadron fire converging with surgical timing to neutralize supporting enemy jets. And as the master ace attempted an evasive barrel roll, Kara executed a perfect interception, missiles primed, electronic countermeasures timed to perfection, while deck crews monitored and secured assets, whispers of awe spreading through all communications. She just calculated and executed a perfect intercept under maximum stress, every impossible maneuver, executed flawlessly. Ace Lawson is untouchable. Yet even as the enemy ace's jet spiraled out of control from the combined effect of Kara's maneuvers, squadron coordination, and electronic interference, she maintained perfect composure, scanning horizon, monitoring squadron, calculating next moves, because the battle was not over until every threat was neutralized, and just as the master ace attempted one final desperate maneuver, cutting sharply toward the carrier to attempt a low-altitude strike, Kara pivoted, banking sharply, vectoring precisely, deploying flares, jamming signals, and coordinating squadron suppression to intercept without collateral damage, muscles taut, heart hammering, lungs straining, mind operating at peak clarity, instincts flawless, every split-second decision executed with surgical precision, whispers of disbelief running through crew and squadron alike. She just saved the carrier from a master ace. Every impossible scenario, countered flawlessly. Ace Lawson is untouchable. Yet Kara's focus never wavered, eyes scanning, calculating, anticipating, ready for any final contingency, because in her experience, even victory could hide hidden threats. And as the enemy ace finally broke off, retreating in defeat, missiles expended, systems damaged, Kara assessed squadron integrity, aircraft readiness, and intelligence acquisition, muscles burning, lungs heaving, heart racing, mind razor sharp, every decision life or death, and as she communicated final orders for defensive posture, asset protection, and squadron recovery, whispers of awe, disbelief, and respect echoed. She just defeated the most dangerous pilot in enemy ranks under impossible circumstances. Every impossible maneuver, executed flawlessly. Ace Lawson is untouchable. Yet Kara, despite sweat-soaked uniform, trembling muscles, and racing heart, maintained perfect composure, eyes blazing, mind alert, instincts alive, because the battlefield's unpredictability guaranteed that even after such a victory, challenges, hidden threats, and new missions awaited, and even as the sun rose higher, illuminating the carrier deck, waves shimmering, jets humming in cautious readiness, Kara Lawson, pilot, tactician, and unstoppable force, knew that her story, legend, and next impossible mission were already approaching, ensuring that the saga of her courage, skill, and heroics would continue, awe-inspiring, lethal, and utterly unforgettable, leaving all observers, squadron members, and even enemy operatives with one undeniable truth: underestimate Kara Ace Lawson at your peril. The battle was finally over, the horizon calm, the carrier deck still humming with residual energy, crew moving with tense efficiency, and Kara Ace Lawson stood at the edge of the deck, helmet off, sweat-slicked hair clinging to her brow, muscles trembling from adrenaline, heart still racing from the relentless series of engagements that had pushed her to the very limits of human and machine capability. Yet even in this rare moment of calm, her mind was far from idle, scanning radar feeds, monitoring squadron status, and replaying every maneuver, every split-second decision, every life or death choice, because Kara knew better than anyone that victory in the field was never permanent, and threats, hidden, unpredictable, and relentless, could arise at any moment, whispers of awe and relief rippling through her team. She did it. Every impossible scenario, neutralized. Ace Lawson is untouchable. Yet Kara, despite the accolades, remained outwardly composed, eyes sharp, instincts alive, commanding presence radiating authority and confidence, because she understood that leadership was not about celebration but about vigilance. And even as engineers worked on repairing minor aircraft damage, deck crews secured assets, and squadron members caught their breath, Kara began debriefing her team, highlighting successes, addressing near misses, analyzing enemy tactics, all with a precision and clarity that left no room for error or complacency, muscles still tense, lungs still heaving, mind operating at peak efficiency, and yet beneath the discipline, there was a flicker of emotion, a quiet acknowledgement of fear, exhilaration, relief,